Morning everybody. Today we're going to get one step closer, finally getting this beast out for the summer. Let's get to it. So first things first, a couple things we got to do before this thing's ready to hit the road this year. We're going to change oil on it, and I know it's not best practice not to warm the motor up and all that happy stuff, but I figure all the oil is drained down to the pan over the last 7 months, 8 months. So I'm going to dump it out of the pan, change the filters, get some new stuff in there before we even try to crank it up. We got to replace the bolts on the alternator and get that locked down. And then I believe I have a broken off bleeder at the rear brakes that has been neglected for the last 5 years. And the brakes could really use a bleed. They could use a better bleed 5 years ago. But we're gonna try to get that one done. I don't think we're gonna get to the speedo cable on this one. But yeah, so we got some parts here from Summit Racing. So we might as well get after it. So we got the goodie box. Ooh. New set of stickers. It's been a hot minute since I ordered anything from Summit. Alright, we got some Lucas Hot Rod and Classic High Zinc 1040. That's what I like to run in this. So we got 7 quarts. So hopefully that's enough. We'll see. Should have probably ordered 8, but I think I got a part one at the garage in town, worst case. So, yeah, and then we got our Wix filters here. So I'll be able to put those on there and be filtering. Now this thing was set up a couple years ago with a derail performance dual filter setup. So we got 2 filters, which is great because when it's time for oil change, that means an extra $20. Otherwise, in the goodie box, we got a couple go fast parts for the dump truck. That'll be in a later video, but we'll get to it. So let's uncover the beast. Get after it. All right, we got 2 new filters installed. If current me could go back and talk to younger me, he'd tell them to not put those on so tight. We got our oil added in, we're at full on the dipstick. We had to bust out the old screwdriver. The first one came off with the filter wrench with a lot of pulling. The second one was not budging. So they were coming off, they just didn't know it. Nothing the hammer and the screwdriver can't fix. I guess hindsight, it would have been a lot more awesome if I would have mounted that upside down to get at the filters, but it's still better than the filter. Let's see. I'll get you in there. The filter's normally under there, which is a bear to get to, number one, because you can't reach from the top, and the K-frame's in the way from the bottom, and then two, when you pull it out, all the oil dumps on the K-frame, and then it drips oil all over the place for the next week. As you can see, our missing bolt here, took it out, so I gotta find a piece of tube that I can make into a spacer so that we have an alternator that's firmly attached. Yeah. All right, so I made the spacer. It took me a couple minutes. I cut a piece of rod that the bolt fit through, got it on. It's pretty close. I'll show you it a little more in detail. I gotta take it back off and paint it and Loctite the bolt, but we're gonna see if it works and if it's not squealing. I hooked up the battery. I cranked it until we had oil pressure. The fresh blood in there and everything, that's pretty important. So I'm gonna dump a little gas down the throat here, because obviously it didn't fire, but it usually doesn't after it's winter slumber. So took my vitamin, got a container, put a little gas down the throat, and see if we can smoke out the garage.
So here on Father's Day, to get this thing going, I spent all this time, made this hokey dokey little spacer, only for the belt to continue to squeal. So today I'm working on the bighorn in the garage at Dad's and getting that thing ready to move. And I find a bag. And what do I find in that bag? This thing, an alternator fastener kit for a big block non-AC, with all the bolts and all the damn spacers. Apparently, this has been a known issue for the last couple years, and we bought it at Mopar's in the park and never put it on. That would have been great before I got bent over for 20 bucks for a stick of rod at Tractor Supply. So, we're gonna slam some paint on these and put them on, because they ain't doing no good in the bag. And then I'll let you know how little Detroit Restorations Parts and Service did. Well, we wham-bammed a shot coat of black on there. So we'll probably let them dry overnight. Put them suckers on tomorrow. Well, while we're watching paint dry, we might as well start getting this guy apart, since I just put it all back together. I can tell you the spacer from Little Detroit Restorations looks a lot better than what I made. And it's probably better, closer to proper length. So we'll get the top bolt out here, and we'll get the spacer between the ears of the alternator and the one between the head and the alternator out of there, and the bolt. And we'll have the proper size bolt in there and the whole 9 yards. It looks like my tensioning bracket is a little bent, so we might have to do a little straightening on that. But we'll figure it out. I'm not worried. Might as well replace, we got nice bolts that are more proper with the proper washers here that hold the main bracket on as well. Really threaded in there a fair bit. Oh, we gotta be almost out here. Get that one loose while we're down here. See, that might be where our squeal's coming from, is if the slide bracket is bent, which it sure looks like it is, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be straight, because why would it be bent? But that might have been from when the bolt fell out. It was doing all kinds of other sassy things. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Boy, if only my ratchet wrenches were in my garage toolbox instead of my shed toolbox. If only the shed was done nice enough that I could put both toolboxes out there and the charger. That'd be nice, huh? Patience, 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 patience. All right. Long bolt out. Alternator fell down. Okay, my janky custom deal that we're not gonna need. Finish taking this little guy out, because I am gonna pull that bracket out of there. Take a gander at it. I gotta take it out anyway to replace that other spacer. Alright. That little guy is out of there. We'll get the proper bolt for that as well. The belt actually doesn't look that bad. It's got a little oil on, which is probably not helping our cause, but I'll set that guy off to the side. Oh, let's see. I got a 9/16 in there. Pull the whole damn thing out of here. Maybe we'll give that a rattle can resto while we're at it here. Clean her up a little bit. Now, that ain't a factory bolt, I can tell you that. The new stuff is gonna look so much better. Now keep in mind, I'm not a factory guy, but I do like uniformity. Oh man. Just ate my Wheaties when I tightened that. Who needs a torque spec when tight is tight, right? Alright. Let our alternator just kind of hang out down there in the hole. Here. Ooh, that one's a lot longer than the guy would have thought. Huh. I guess they didn't give me 2 long bolts. Alright, now you know what we're gonna not remember how to do? Put this all back together. So, if you look, I don't know if you can see it, but that sucker's got a twist in it. Yes, sirree. That's less than ideal. Pretty sure that is supposed to be straight. Definitely not helping our cause. Sort of sketchy redneck stuff. What am I gonna have to do to straighten this out? Now I have a vise. There's two steps to owning a vise. 1, buy the vise. 2, bolt the vise to something. We're still on step 1. I can clamp that in the vise, so we'll see if we can straighten her out. See what she does. Well, we straightened her out to the best of our abilities with what we had. I'm gonna throw a little bit of rattle can resto on her. And I'm gonna throw a second coat on them too. We'll let her dry till tomorrow. Maybe if I'm on top of it in the morning, I'll flip these over. Dust the other side, even though that's the back side that you really can't see. But if we're in there doing it, we might as well do it. So, and then tomorrow evening, we'll put them on. See if we make any difference. Maybe fire her up and see if it squeals like a stuck pig yet. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty happy with our rattle can restoed parts. They're not perfect, but a lot better than they were. Well, we're gonna try to do the opposite order of operations here that, okay, that's not a good start. Let's go over there. Alright. Not what I would have guessed, but we're back at it. Maybe. Now, is that right? That doesn't seem right. I got a feeling it's gonna better go to time lapse while I struggle with this. That looks more right. Well, it's in. It looks a lot straighter than it was before. So, hopefully, that god-awful squealing is gone. Pro tip, the top of the bracket where it says top evidently goes to the back. And it appears, I'm not sure if this is the correct alternator for this car, but the swing arm bracket, which is what I spent most of this nightmare time on, oh, focus in there, goes to the outside of the bracket, evidently. So, and that lower bolt goes into the coolant system because my hands are all sticky. So, we got that done. It's pretty late, so we're not going to wake up the wife and kids by starting this thing up to see if it squeals. But that sounds like a good tomorrow after work project. So we'll fire her up tomorrow. See what she does. Well, update. Fired her up. See if it still squeals. It's not as bad as it was, but it's not as good as it could be. But I think for starters, we should probably replace that belt. So for now, it's out, it's running. You know, it's always usually my goal is to have it out by Father's Day for the old man. It's got the new parts on it. I'll probably change the belt and see, probably change both belts while we're in there. And might have to play with the shimming and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and see if we can get her pulled straight so it doesn't squeal anymore. But do what we can with what we got. So until next time, smoke them if you got them.